This is the Blackchrome series with the Adelaide Masters Cycling Club. It's a Vets series race. 3 races, this is the second one. The first one I was in A grade and that didn't go well, so I was dropped down to B grade, which I'm pretty happy with. This is a points race, so there's 3 sprints, second lap, fourth lap, and then at the finish. And the points from that go towards the overall series, and there's some great prizes put out by Blackchrome Cycling. And then there's prizes, the usual prizes for the win on the day. It was a miserable wet day. I've got a bit of a funny thing about riding in the wet. I really don't like it. But today was alright, so I learned a bit, and let's have a look at how we went. So we're towards the end of the second lap. I've just finished a long but not particularly hard turn. I mean, we're all sprinters at this point. The race is all together, and we've got a sprint coming up in a kilometre or 2. Dale pulls through to do a turn, and again, it's not particularly hard. I mean, we're doing 30 k's an hour. I'm freewheeling in the draft. Now, technically, these are solo races. We're not really supposed to race as a team, but then DVL comes up and says, "Hey, you want to draft? You want to lead out? Oh, we'll take that." And then he just does this absolutely incredible, if ridiculously long, lead out all the way through to the finish, or nearly. So that's got to be one of the single longest leadouts of all time. I reckon it was about 3 k's he did, getting the speed up from 30 k's an hour to 50 k's an hour. But now I've got 700 odd meters left until the finish line. What I probably should have done is pulled the parachute myself, waited for someone else to pull through and jumped on them. What I decided to do instead was just keep it fast but not sprinting. So I kept the power up at about 400 watts, and just hope that if someone does come past, I can get on their coattails and make it through to the line. There's a little bus stop just past. That's usually where you start sprinting. I've been sprinting for about 30 seconds by then, and here I've really wound it up as Dale's coming past me. And unfortunately I make it to the line about 47 seconds after DVL pulls off for one of the all-time longest sprints of my life. And that was the first sprint, so that pretty much put me in the hurt box for the next half a lap or so. Let's look at the next one. So after that super long sprint, Alistair Smith launched a solo attack, and at this point he's probably got 10-15 seconds by himself. The bunch is just beginning to start rolling through. We've just begun to start getting organised, but he's got a reasonable gap, and then this happens. Now, this sucks. He's worked so hard to get a gap, and fortunately we do the right thing, and although we catch up to him at the train line, well, we give him a couple of seconds to start before we get going again. So we're a lap later and the brakes come back, and we're about 3 k's away from the second sprint. At this point you're either a sprinter or you're not a sprinter. None of the sprinters want to do any work, and none of the non-sprinters want to tow the sprinters to the line. And the cat and mouse begins, and the pace just comes right out of it. We're doing 30 k's an hour, I'm doing no power, absolutely nothing, and all we're doing is just watching to see who's going to go. Anthony has a bit of a dig. I let Paul and Alistair close that one down. I can see Alistair's not going to let it go, so I'm not going to try to get past him. I'm just going to sit in the draft. And of course that one immediately comes back, and the pace comes right out again. Phil has a dig, but he's attacking right off the front, and unfortunately Matt and I are right on his wheel and doesn't really go anywhere. Paul does a turn on the front, and at this point the pace has dropped below 30 k's an hour. I get a bit bored and decide that while I don't really want to drag the whole thing all the way to the end, I don't want it to be this slow, So I do about 300 watts for a few seconds, get the pace back up, and just invite someone to start coming over the top. Finally, Philip gets bored and decides to go really long, and this suits me perfectly, so I'm just going to hop in his draft and get another free lead out. This one's also really early. This isn't really a sprint lead out, this is more of an attack. But once I got onto his wheel, I'm just holding less than 300 watts, keeping up with him, and this is doing me absolutely perfectly. And then just as Phil starts losing a bit of speed, DVL comes through one more time with a massive lead out. This one gets me past the bus stop and in the perfect position to sprint for the points again. And this time I've really only got maybe 100 meters, if that, to sprint, and there's no one anywhere close. Unfortunately my camera ran out of memory card just at the very end of this, but then we did get the most prophetic comment from Matt Caldersmith. Matt says, Mike Davies is going to attack right now, and guess what? Mike Davies attacks right now. Anthony Mead manages to get across to him, and the two of them hold off the rest of the bunch for the rest of this lap, and at the end of the day we don't really get close. I won the sprint for third. Other than that, it was a really fun race, and I look forward to seeing what happens in the last race of the series. See you later.